Good afternoon. We will give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Okay, I do see we have a guest. My name is Tony Gallagher. I'm Deputy Director of the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. We're happy to announce that we went live today with our new website, and we hope that people will find it as a more mobile-friendly website, a little cleaner design, a little more simpler and more intuitive to navigate through. Rather than having information in multiple areas, it's more like single path, but each step taking you to the next that you might be for the information you're looking for. Also, one of the major features is that it is more ADA accessible than our former website, so that people with are able to view it and hear it through their website. We did have the Cleveland Site Center review our website, and we got very high marks on it. There were a couple improvements that they brought to our attention, and we plan to implement those within the next couple weeks. So, not to delay this, Peter James is our Election and Compliance Administrator. He and Mary Hannah will be leading the demonstration, taking you through some of the features of the new website and how voters would navigate through it. So with that, Peter or Mary Hannah, you want to go ahead?
All right, we'll take it from
there. She is.
So yeah, here's our new website. So as Tony mentioned, you know, we're trying to keep it more streamlined and a lot simpler. The old site was really cluttered up on the homepage, but what we're trying to do is really segment the website into our audiences and get each audience to their own landing page instead of flooding the homepage with all the information we can. So we have these main boxes for all of the featured items that are important. So election information and results, information about our new website, our tab equipment process, and our upcoming events here on the side. So one more thing, the mobile-friendly version. So just as sort of a preview of what it'll look like on a phone, if we minimize the screen, you can see these boxes on the homepage just stack really cleanly. So if you're on a mobile device, it'll translate very well. on your phone. And from our analytics, we know that about half of our users are viewing it on cell phones. So this should be a big improvement for our users. So one more little thing is we have this footer at the bottom that will also provide a lot more information right off the bat. Contact information, address, contact form, state resources, things like that are all right here. So let's dive in. So the first page that we will stop in on is the voters page. So this should have everything that voters will need. If you're coming to the site as a voter and you're trying to find something, it's probably going to be here. So first off, we start with all of the voting options. These are all the different ways that you can vote: by mail, early in person, or on election day. So if you want to vote by mail, here's the vote by mail landing page where you can request an application or print a blank one. And instructions on how to return it as well, with a mailing address or an address to the Board of Elections. And one more thing to point out here that again will be nicer for especially the mobile users is we have these hyperlinks for get directions that'll direct you right to a Google Maps directions to the Board of Elections, and also the phone numbers are hyperlinked. So if you're on your phone and you tap this, it'll call us automatically.
Mary Hannah, so, what's the difference between, again, real quick, back up to the application, what's the difference between clicking on the blue button, request a vote by mail, and just the blank PDF file?
Yes, good point. So requesting an application, this is a whole web app that will generate, you can, let's see if,
yeah, I mean, one of the big nice things about this is it pre-populates a lot of it, and it comes with a barcode which makes it a little easier on our end to process it more quickly.
As well as on your end for the voters. So if we wanted to request a ballot for this election, for instance, you can still print it from home. You can have it mailed to you,
yep.
And we'll mail it to you, and you'll fill it out and mail it back. Or you could just download a PDF of it yourself to print at home. But it'll be pre-filled with your address information. All you have to do is enter in ID information and sign it and send it in. If you do go to blank application, it is just blank. You have to fill it all out yourself. None of these fields will be pre-filled for you. And you have to remember to sign it, of course. So it's just completely blank. If you go through the application to download one of these, the name, address, a lot of these fields will be pre-filled for you. So it's a lot easier for the voter, and it's easier for us because there will be a barcode here that we can just scan it in, and we'll know that we'll get your voter information easily from there. So this is the requesting a vote by mail applications is, in my opinion, the best way to go. Yeah, and then the track your ballot application, again, this is very similar to what we had on our previous website, where you type in your name and date of birth, and if you've requested a ballot for a certain election, it'll give you information on whether it's been processed, mailed back to you, or received by the Board of Elections. And then a little bit of information for our military and overseas voters and our remote ballot marking system. And one
that
nice
little collapsible system, yeah. Exactly,
yes. A nice thing to point out about these is we have these collapsible boxes now. So again, keeping the pages far less cluttered. If you're looking for information on this, you can expand this section, but it won't be taking up space if it's not something you're looking for. So you can expand and collapse these to get further information on those topics. So back to the voters page, then next the vote early in person box. So click here. Apologies. I think the Zoom is slowing down my internet a bit. Here we go. So this is where you'll find the early in person hours for a given election. And also the address information on where to vote. We may put parking information up here. Or any other information and updates that you need for voting early in person. You can stay on this page. So we also have information on acceptable photo identification and documents that you can bring to vote early in person, as well as invalid identification, because this is something that a lot of people have questions about. So we're trying to put as many answers as possible right on the website. So those resources are all here. And then finally, the vote on election day is going to be very similar with the acceptable identification that you can bring to the polls. The hours that the polls are open are right here up at the top. And off on the sidebar here, we have a link to getting your voter information, which is back on the voters page as well. So I'll get back to that. Acceptable, unacceptable identification, and then information on voting provisional ballots are down here as well, including some of these necessary forms or information. So back on the voters page, we have this sidebar with the sort of key items for voters, key resources. The top one being the get your voting information. So this, you can see these are all the pieces of information that you can get from this app. We had this on our previous website, but it's much cleaner now. Again, you can put in your last name, date of birth, and it'll give you all of this information about polling location, precincts, participation history, and when there is an election, you'll be able to get your ballots right from here as well. So this is a pretty powerful tool. Deadlines during an election cycle, they'll be here on this page. Track your ballot here. Here is a link to check your voter information, which takes you to the Secretary of State tool, where you can update your registration. Find voting information by address is similar to the get your voting information, except it's not so personalized. So for this one, you just type in an address. I'll use the Board of Elections address, for instance. And it doesn't give you personalized information, but it will give you information for that address on what the polling location would be, precinct, district. And again, if it were during an election cycle, the ballot information for that precinct would also come up here. So if you aren't able to find yourself, or if you're looking for a different address, this is where you could go to find that information. And then the Get a Sample Ballot tool, this will be the same as our old site. If any voters have used this within the past year, we just got a new vendor, which, you know, in the effort to be more accessible and ADA compliant, the new sample ballot software from the vendor that we're using is completely ADA compliant. So screen readers are able to read it back. Instead of a PDF where you wouldn't have been able to do that, it's more of an interactive page that is more accessible.
I like the new system, and in that what you just said, Mariana. But if you do want to generate a PDF to print, there's also that option there.
Yes,
I think
yes.
you can generate PDF to print, but by default, you're getting a nice, easy to navigate HTML, which is probably what most people would prefer, regardless of accessibility. Constraints that they may or may not have.
If we had some ballots for an election right now, I would show them off. But yeah, they're a little nicer. They're kind of interactive too. So if you kind of go through and you can kind of star the votes that you want to make, and if you wanted to use that as a guide, that's also helpful. So
you can actually pre-fill it, sort of.
Right. So if you wanted to do your research at home and then bring that to the polls, you'd be able to, in theory. Okay. So it's just a more useful tool. There's more you can do with it. So under that, we have our registration tools. So again, we have these show hides for all these different ways to vote. So you can vote online with the Secretary of State tool. You can vote by mail, where we have the voter registration card and we have the address to send it back to. Or you can vote in person, where again, we have the address with a link to get directions straight there, or a list of other eligible locations that have voter registration cards where you can go to register. And then some other voter resources. So again, these are things that, a lot of voters had questions about. And so we put the resources right here to learn about them. So canceling your registration, and party affiliation. This is how your party affiliation works. And then also our Safe at Home and Shielding Our Protectors programs from the Secretary of State. There's some information on those here. So I do see in the chat here, we want to get a glimpse of the maps and data page, so I'll go there. So here are the maps and data on the news site. I think before we had several different pages where the information was spread across, but here we just want one central location with all of the important maps and data. So one thing to note here, this is a good page for noticing these icons that we put next to these links. So if there's no icon, that means it goes to a landing page. So this one, for instance, these interactive maps, we have an interactive map for each one of these cities, and for Cleveland, all of the wards. So there's a landing page there. These icons with the arrows mean it's an external link. So those, in this case, is going to be all of our interactive maps with our ArcGIS program. And these ones will be our PDF maps. So we're working on moving more towards the interactive maps because they're much more powerful tools. We can open one of these as an example. So for the interactive maps, you're really able to, zoom in on a specific area, see the breakdown of precincts, as close or far away as you need to, and these red dots also have information for the polling locations and which precincts go to those locations. So there's a lot more that you can do with these compared to the old PDF maps, which we will still have a few of, but for the most part, we're trying to move more towards these interactive maps for just better usability. And then, of course, we have down here our data from before. So we have our registered voter downloads and vote by mail labels and lists, and a list of polling locations by city. Basically the same information from our old site, but organized more succinctly, and it should be a lot easier for the users to navigate.
So we have basically two different types of voter registration files or information on the site. Is that correct? There's one that's like a PDF file that just shows, what is it? Just shows raw totals versus what's the difference between the one here under data, and then I guess we haven't gotten to the other one, but that's under candidates. But what's the difference between the Excel version and the PDF versions?
Yes, so these are Excel files of registered voters by all of these different breakdowns, or just by a whole countywide. And the other file, let's just jump to the candidates page now. That's a nice segue. We also have these voter registration statistics, which these are just PDFs. The previous ones were Excel files, but these are just PDFs that list the number of registered voters by precinct. So there's a little less information on this. It's more of a general count breakdown. But these are...
Yes, if you're looking for just top level numbers, you're going to get it right off the PDF quicker than the Excel files, which you probably have to do a little bit of finessing with. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Yep. These ones are a little more cleaner, but I guess if you want to do a more in-depth dive with the Excel spreadsheets, that's a resource for doing so.
Yeah, a couple questions just popped up in the chat.
Yes. So for the candidates page, again, this is going to look the same information as our old candidates portal, but we tried to organize it in a way that it wasn't such a large page of open links. So we have these show hides for the different sections of resources, and everything will lie within these categories that, again, you can open and close as needed. And then the deadlines for an upcoming election are here. So, all right, let's skip ahead to the election results. So I see some questions about those. So here we have a new, this page is going to be formatted a lot differently from our old website, in the sense that we're going to have some current elections that are active, and then some past elections with the older data. And where on our old site, we had two different pages, depending on whether you wanted election information and documents, or if you wanted the election results. but instead we're putting everything on the page for that specific election. So if we go to the August 3rd election, for example, you'll see we have results here, starting with the certification report, and then going down through official and unofficial. We have all of the elections documents, so this is where, not for this election, but you'll have the issues list, election profile, sample ballots would be here, as well as the filing deadlines for candidates and the voter deadlines for voters. The elections will go back 3 election cycles. So that'll be about 12 years worth of elections. And anything past that will drop off of the election, but we will still have that information in-house. So if for whatever reason you need election information from before 12 years ago, the Board of Elections would be able to provide that.
So simply put, if you're looking for the results of any given election, you go to that election under the elections tab, and it'll be there.
Yes.
Along with everything else that was kind of pertinent to that election.
Yeah, this is a better example. You can see it has all of the results. It has the audit information from the November presidential and all of these documents that we use throughout the elections. So it should be a lot cleaner and a lot simpler. You know, if you're looking for some information on this particular election, this is the one place it will be. You know, before we would maybe have information spread across maybe 3 different places, but now it's all in one place. So simplification should be very helpful. And once again, we have this sidebar here for if you're a voter and you know, you're looking at an election and you decide you want to vote or find out how to request a ballot. We link back to the voters page, and you'll see that that's present whether you're on the elections page or whether you click on any one of these elections, it'll be there. And this is also where on election night, we'll add a box on the side that would have the live election results so that, you know, again, those are as easy to find as possible.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you could also point out, I think now that we have a banner too on the homepage, we could show them maybe that's probably where we'll also have it.
Yes.
The election
yeah,
results,
so
you know, like the leading, you know, like the day before, the day of, day after, to draw attention to it.
Exactly. So we'll have the ability to put up these banners. These will sort of, to some degree, replace the rotating banners that we have on our current site, which are kind of an outdated, you know, website tool. And they certainly aren't ADA compliant. Screen readers cannot read those images. So instead, if we need to highlight something really important, we can put up these alert banners. You know, they could be green, orange, or red, depending on the severity of the item. And we can make sure that, you know, if something important, like in this case, the recount information, on election night, this would be election results, or the day before it would be the live voter turnout. We can highlight those here so that they're straight on the homepage, easy to get to. 443vote.us still works. Yes, that redirect should still be set up to redirect right to this website. As you can see, it's the same URL. So 443vote will redirect you to this URL, which should be the same website. So, all right, let's jump to election day workers. So if you're interested in being an election day worker, again, we have one central landing page for all of this information. We have a new system for poll workers within the last few years where we have a website where you can apply to be a worker, or if you have already been accepted as a worker, you can go there to access training materials, take classes, so that we can do fewer in-person classes. And then both of those resources, whether you're returning or applying, are right here. We have our list of election day positions. And down here, we have our Future of Democracy program. If you would know anyone interested, this is a great program, and we have some information for it here with some contact info if anyone's interested for high school workers. And then we have some training material documents here as well. So again, a link straight back to our portal and all of our training materials here. And then the last page will be the About Us page. So this page has basically anything related to the Board of Elections. So we have our mission statement, contact, phone, address to both of our locations. Especially we use the tab center for things like election demonstrations. So we have directions to that here. And again, a link to get directions straight there. Our hours and our general email, our wonderful board members and directors, and then a list of all of our contacts. So if you're trying to get in touch with someone specific or a specific department, we have those resources here. And one thing that is quite a bit different from our old site is we have our board meeting documents on one central page here. So instead of putting them on each calendar event and having to go through each event on the calendar to find those documents, we have one central location for all of them here. So you can see each row is 1 month and each item is a board meeting. And then we have the agenda, packet, and minutes here on this page. So these should be a lot easier to access. And again, these will go back 2 years, 2 calendar years. And the board meeting schedule in general is here on the top. So one last thing too is we have the Espanol button right here up in the top. So for any Spanish voters, it'll be really easy to switch over to the Spanish site. And I think that's it, unless there are any other questions or if I missed anything, Peter. Okay, I see a question. So we won't have an RSS feed for our social media. We decided not to. We have the upcoming events box here, which will have all of the kind of important events we want to highlight. And then down in the footer of every page, we do have links to all of our social media. So we have these 5 social media pages that we link to here. And also, you go to we have updated our website page. We have some information about our new website and some videos that will help you walk through some of the new features in case I missed anything. And once again, we link to our social media here in case you're interested in following us. But we aren't putting a feed right on the homepage. So notifications of last minute changes. I'm not sure if Peter would be able to speak to this more, but if there was something important that we needed to notify users of, we could put an alert here or featured in one of these boxes if there was some further information we wanted them to be aware of. These 4 homepage boxes here we can change and move around as needed. So if there was some kind of important information that we needed to notify people of, we would highlight that here somewhere on the homepage. Great. Okay, any other questions?
I just responded to a question there in the chats. Is there an RSS feed on those media releases or no? I guess I don't even know. I guess
oh, you know what?
I know you can sign up for the calendar invites and such. Yeah. And we do push a lot. We push a lot out through social media to answer his question about changing the court. Sure, I mean we definitely would get it on the website, but we, be pushing it out through our social media as well.
Right. Which is a good point about the press releases, which are housed on the About Us page here. And this is, again, another change. We're not posting them as PDFs. They are these HTML pages. So once again, they will be accessible with a screen reader instead of the old process of posting a PDF, which are not ADA compliant. So this is one improvement that we're excited about.
And then you've pointed out there's the contact email, and then there's also a contact form.
Yes, yep. Contact us online. This takes you to a contact form where you could, you know, you wouldn't have to fill out the contact information, but if you want us to be able to get back to you, you could fill that in here and leave, you know, questions, comments, concerns right here and submit it to the Board of Elections. So, and then some general phone numbers to contact us that way as well. So this is right from the footer. There's a contact us online option. And anything else?
I mean, the only other thing I can think of real quick is just to point out the few videos that we made for the news site. That, you know, maybe
Right.
they might,
Yes.
if they feel are useful, they could share to others. We again posted these to social media too, but one of them is a promotional video that we used to announce the launch of the website yesterday, today. And then election day workers, voters, they're short. I mean, they're not meant to be, you know, in-depth detail, step by step, but it gives an overview of like the 3 or 4 major functions that audience would likely use on the websites, the new website, just as a way of kind of transitioning from what they may have been used to on the old site versus how to use the new one.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you, Mary Hannah and Peter. You guys did a lot of good work on this. I know there was a team of people also working with you on this. And I think, you know, this is one of the good things that I really like is the fact that we're not as dependent on the county for making updates. There are things that we can do on our own. As time progresses, I'm sure there'll be some updates and clarifications, change of headings and things like that. So it's great for us to be able to update those much quicker. But we appreciate those people who have participated in this video demonstration. And we appreciate any of your comments and feedback. And again, thank you, Peter and Mary Hannah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.